Hello and welcome to Campaigns and Conquest. I'm your co-host Magenta, and we're joined tonight by Storm, your host, as usual. Say hi, Storm.
Evening, folks.
We are going to have an exciting topic tonight. It's all about credentialism in tabletop gaming, how authority bias warps perceptions. And this is something that Storm has a lot of information on and is very passionate to talk about. So we're going to start off with just a brief introduction.
Excellent.
Excellent. How about you define credentialism for us, Storm?
All righty. It's there. How do I put it? The idea that because somebody has done something, has been published, or other, credited in some other way with some feat, that they must have authority, they must have expertise, and that expertise means that their opinions, their statements, hold more weight than somebody who doesn't have these credentials, even when those statements are clearly easily interpreted as being a subjective remark.
So would you say it's going to, sorry.
I was going to give an example just quickly, just an example. For example, I played Pac-Man. Pac-Man was an inferior arcade game. It just isn't that good. I don't like it. And I stopped playing it and I moved to Centipede, something of that nature. There's no criteria being judged here. It's not, you're not saying this one has less memory or something definitive that can be argued and pointed out as fact. It's just mainly, you didn't like Pac-Man. It's your opinion. Some people don't like apples. Some people do like apples. That's all it is. But if you have some credential behind you, there's a lot of people that will turn that subjective statement into some authoritative statement. Well, he must know he's got the cred, so Pac-Man must be inferior to Centipede is the logical thinking, or the illogical of thinking that a lot of people fall into.
It becomes truth and fact instead of just opinion and subjective preference.
Right. In role-playing games, I like to call it the Gary said effect. But Gary said, because there'll be people that will point to a statement that Gary Gygax has made and go, see, this means it's unassailable fact.
So to define it, you'd say credentialism is basically, it's like argument from authority. It's basically,
yes.
It's
more than argument. Well, yes, it's more than argument from authority. That's the usage of it in a debate. But it's this entire idea that simply because, well, that guy made that game or these games, he's got a library of design games that are published in success. It's all about success, by the way. You don't have any, you can publish 1,000 games. If they're not successful, nobody gives you any credit. But if you have a successful game, then you must know what you're talking about. And some people will assign fact to your subjective opinion because of that credentialism.
Let me clarify too, a successful game is usually a money-making game. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a game that could be a superior game. It just made a lot more money. It maybe got promoted a lot more. It got, it had better production values, perhaps. It's not necessarily that the rule set or the concepts or the ideas behind the game were superior. There's a lot of other factors that go in. So somebody bankrolled it, somebody promoted it, somebody got placement, because there is actually a way that retailers will pay for product. They'll sell prime placement in their stores, and people who are wholesalers or manufacturers will pay for that better placement in stores. And doing that will make something fly off the shelves. I used to work in retail years and years, a long time ago. But there were certain spots that we could tell from the flow of the store, the way the store was laid out, people were going to go to this display case. And it used to be a regular thing. If we got something that was a really neat item that the store owner thought was going to sell a lot better than it wasn't selling, it wasn't moving off the shelves, we would put it on that display case because of that placement of that case at eye level was just a place everybody would just naturally go to and stop at. It was just a part of the flow pattern of the shoppers. And anything that was put there sold better than anything else just because of where it was. So that kind of thing can make a big difference in promotion and all of those other factors. It doesn't necessarily mean that the game is superior to a game that didn't sell as many copies, right? Would you say that's true?
I suppose that could be something. I don't know if I'd call that credentialism. It's just marketing.
No,
Sometimes
I'm not saying credentialism. Well, the
that's what I'm
credential,
talking.
if the credential comes from having a successful selling game, like you had a blockbuster game. So now you have the cred to say you're an expert on gaming. That fact that you had a blockbuster selling game could come from a lot of other factors not related to the quality of the game itself, but the marketing strategy, the backing, the quality of the production of the artwork, and all of those other types of things that aren't really related to how the game plays as a game. Am I making sense now?
Okay, yeah. Um,
Right.
I think pet rocks. I'd still call that marketing versus credentialism. I guess I'm kind of missing the connection. Sorry.
I'm saying how you attain credentialism is by having a game that sold really well. You can sell pet rocks sold really well too because they had the right marketing, but they weren't anything more than rocks with stuff painted on them,
Right.
in a
Yeah, I
box.
think I know what you're saying. Like I said
Yeah.
one time, I said something to the effect that, you know, uh, somebody wrote Howard the Duck too.
Yes.
And that was I mean, it made more than $1. I don't know how much it made, but it made more than $1. And it was a movie where a chick screwed a humanoid duck.
Apparently, it was based on a comic book that had a lot more depth, but Howard the Duck was an insufferable pig, really. He should have been Howard the Pig. So I think that's why it didn't
Never
play
saw it.
well.
I just know she banged
Oh
it.
God, it was
I know it was a dude in a
he
suit
was
and she banged
Leisure
it.
Suit Larry in duck form.
All right then.
Does that explain it now?
Oh,
That's who he
one
was.
so one of the other ways to just if we're not getting through because we are kind of wandering as usual. Sorry, we're kind of
Sorry, I was
ADD. No, it's me too. But yeah, no, it's all right. Howard the Duck. But I just found this. Credentialism is a practice of valuing credentials above other ways of assessing a person's skills and abilities. Um, uh, Concerns about credentialism losing meaning, great inflation, factory like teaching systems like that. Well, that gets into education more than what we're talking about, but a class prejudice where you have people that once you're I've seen this with authors too. My sister's a published author and she'll tell you about it. Once you've got anything commercially viable, all of a sudden you think you're the cat's effing meow. And you'll start like she said she was hanging out with people that were trying to get published and were the starving artist type of author. And as soon as they made a book deal, suddenly they had no time to converse with the people who hadn't made such a deal yet. And they just kind of left into this other clique. And it was, you know,
they're breathing that rarefied air now. They don't have time to
right. And it
you know,
may have been a gold bug children's book that sold to 5 people, but all of a sudden, because they got a book deal, that so we get a little bit of that. But I see this a lot in to swing it back to gaming. I see it a lot in gaming. There's people, and she'll get mad if I name names, but I really want to name names. But there's some people that are just insufferable because they believe that or the wargaming is another one. where somebody thinks that because they sold something other than, like, I've seen people that had their stuff mentioned by a military or a defense contractor or used by it. Holy smokes. All of a sudden, they are just the biggest pompous, and they really believe that they've achieved some sort of intellectual and, they're not. People like Gary, I didn't know Gary Gygax at all personally. I had small interactions with him, but I think I know this much about him just from reading from him. His whole idea was this wasn't it. That wasn't his deal. You know, you were just as viable a creator, and your input and your imagination was equally um, valuable as just, you know I mean, just even me with the one interaction. Oh, you play D&D? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I love it. Oh, well, what are you campaigning? Where are you at? What do you do? All he wanted to know was, what was I doing, and was it a commercial product? And I felt like I was a little bit. I didn't know, but I was like, should I tell him that, because I don't really want to buy in that stuff. And he's like, he was more impressed that something was made up versus bought something off the shelf. And he found interest. He found that kind of creativity, I believe, in everybody, worth something. Whereas some of these other people, because they've had some sort of product, especially if it's successful or well known, all of a sudden they'll start invoking. This is another one. A good signal of somebody who's addicted to this kind of thing is the person who says, well, here's what I've been doing. I've been doing it this long. Sure, I'm a crotchety old sucker. I'll tell you how old I am or something like that. But I don't really think I lord over the fact that I've been doing this since the late 70s as some sort of mallet to whack you with if I disagree with you. Um, Other than, you know, all your new ideas are, but I'm just joking around. I don't really think I hope I don't do that, but I certainly see other people do that. Well, you don't think I have the credibility to make the statement that this particular game system is inferior? I've been gaming and I've made more games and blah, 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 blah. Okay. You still have an opinion about a game you didn't make, and you're welcome to your opinion, but that opinion is not factual, no matter how long a resume you have. That's really the
Well,
bottom line with this stuff.
and the main reason for why it should not be considered factual, in my opinion, and I think you'll agree with me, but once you have a kind of once it's gate kept to the where this is the one true way to do it, once you have a dogma established due to credentialism, because people before have said that this is the only way to do it, this is the way, we've tried all these other ways and people have done stuff and nothing else is good, this is the only way, this is superior, everything else is, if it ain't Scottish, it's what, can you say that
Crap.
word? Yeah, okay, it's crap. But anyway, so if you've got that going on, then you don't get innovation.
That's right.
The next new game that might be the best game you ever saw in your life doesn't happen
Some
in
of the
a world like that.
Right. So some of the top men, if you get the reference to the old Indiana Jones, who's working on it? Top men, because I don't know the names specifically, may have been working on uh, the weapon you're using in war. Um, there was some fine engineers and all that put together the M4 Sherman. One of the things that helped bust the Americans out of the hedgerows just after the invasion of Normandy was Hillbilly Jim, farmer that went and made their own invention based off of kind of a salt of the earth farming knowledge, and created what they call hedge choppers. Very straightforward. Just they made giant knives that fit on the front of the tank, and it cut through hedgerows that were very difficult to get through otherwise. Had to be dynamited or satchel charged in other places. So somebody that
Is
didn't,
that Hedgerow Joe?
I don't, yeah, right. But
That's
I
my name.
mean, he probably given the some of these guys, God bless them. I'm not putting them down, but some of them didn't have the opportunity for a very extensive education. They were on the farm working, and this was just a working farm boy that came up with something. He didn't have the creds. He didn't have anything, but like you say, if you focus on nothing but credentials, you may overlook some of the best ideas and the most transformative ideas ever. You know, thank goodness that somebody saw this as an opportunity, this hedge choppers, and brought the brass in. And when the old man saw it, I want that. Make me 50 of those or whatever it was, and it changed everything. So wargaming itself came from a relatively low ranked. The man had some combat experience, if I remember correctly. He wasn't a private, but he wasn't well connected. He was kind of a mid level officer, as I recollect. But because somebody picked up on the genius that he had come up with wargaming, we are where we are now with gaming. So you can't always just look at, and to say this doesn't detract from somebody who made something. Well, what are you saying? Gary isn't anything. Gary's just this schmo. No, but using that as some sort of weapon to trump card anybody in some sort of discussion is not. It's a logical fallacy. It's not very rational in thought, and we have more so than people that do this sort of thing. We have a problem with people who accept it and base their opinions off of it. If you want to know the bottom line as to why I'm screaming all the time about this jargon because what I've seen over the years, and no, this isn't me telling you I have more than you in knowledge or anything like that, but there is something to be said for somebody who's existed longer as far as what they've seen in life. And I've watched over the decades this entire industry steer towards a particular direction. And a lot of it has to do with people that going, well, only those folks that did this have any credibility in assessment, in review, in what's good, what's bad, and it's colored everybody's opinion, and it's directed the way things go. Imagine if I think it would be a much broader, diverse, interesting, and healthy industry if this credentialism never existed. Because it didn't in the late 70s when I was going to small conventions. It was just everybody brought their ideas, and it was a marketplace of unbelievably different things. It wasn't, here's 15 BX modified games with different names and a different color, cover. Some people really love BX and they love all these different versions of it, but it's still just nothing but a bunch of variants packaged as a product. Whereas when I walked through an old convention years ago, and it wasn't about who had the biggest name or who had the biggest title or who had published anything, it was a bunch of nobodies bringing what they did in their basement to show everybody else. And everything was completely different from each other. It was better that way. It really does change things. So that's the impact is the perception that people have because they've bought into this. I really wish that I could find a way to reverse that thought process. So,
yeah, and it's one of those things where innovation sometimes is something you have to actively pursue. Credentialism and this idea of relying on past knowledge exclusively is kind of built into humanity to some extent for some people. There's always this kind of like back and forth with this. So you got the innovators and you've got the tried and true camps, and they've always existed side by side in human nature. And sometimes one will swing into ascendancy and the other one will back down. But I think the tried and true method is one that I think people who are new to something, like myself as a new player, I can tell you that you're starting off from a point of, I don't know how any of this works. How do I know what's good and what's not good? So it's very easy to be tempted to follow into credentialism, just like, when you were a kid and if you went to buy a book, you remember those, they used to have those Caldecott stickers on books. I don't know, maybe I'm old now and losing people here, but they were the stickers that were Newbery Awards and Caldecott, and if you wrote a sci-fi book, they would have an award that was done, the Asimov Awards and all of that kind of stuff. And that was supposed to tell you if a book was good. But really, all it told you is if the people who styled themselves as experts thought it was good. Now, their taste might be jaded by the fact that they've read so many other books and they have gotten to a point where they're looking for something specific. I want a book that really speaks to me and makes me think these kind of deep thoughts. And I don't want a book that's fun and lighthearted. But if you're a reader, you might want one that's exactly the opposite of what those experts like. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of, it becomes something where if you're going to reclaim innovation in gaming, you have to reclaim that spirit of, yeah, there is no expert on taste. There's
Right.
no expert on what's fun and what's not fun. It's a deeply personal thing. And
Right.
really, the best way to choose a game is to ask the people that you're going to be gaming with what they're looking for. What do you
Right.
want to get out of the game?
Right.
What is your goal? Are you looking for fantasy based? Are you looking for heavy action? Are you looking for looting? You want to be a murder hobo? Do you want to have a creative storyline? Do you want a narrative storytelling? Or do you want just a dungeon crawl? All of those things are all valid options, and you can have really good games that highlight some features of that or all features of that, and it's not that one is better than the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And it dovetails with the
Tony, my books all speak to me because I only listen to Audible books. He's asking, do your books speak to you? And in that case, do you answer back to the book? And I'm like, yeah, I don't answer back, but they definitely speak to me because I do like to listen to Audible books. But
right.
yeah, hi,
Parroting.
by the way, too.
Right. You just it would that's good, but yeah, but it would be nice to see, like I say, jargon dovetails with this. It would be nice to see fan discourse revolve, that often revolves around parroting these jargon terms, often invoked by the same kind of credentialist, you know, authoritative voices. Well, I read it somewhere and this guy wrote it, so it must be, the, there's a lot of things in print. And you may be a fan of a particular individual because he or she says what you want to hear. I don't want to make everybody sound like I'm telling everybody they're stupid or con artistry, but I've heard this said before that, like, in different realms, different topics, I don't want to specify and start a different debate, but some people will watch videos not to hear different opinions, but to hear theirs confirmed.
Right. For validation. Yeah.
For validation. And if it comes from an expert opinion, then it's even more valid. And now you can go, well, it's not me. This guy said, like just today, we had to say, it's not just me that dislikes this game. Even that one guy that played it, that's got a super, heavy reputation. In this case, Gary. Well, Gary even said he didn't like it. So it must be awful.
Right.
And that's not, so,
yeah.
encouraging an open discussion based on logic and merit and not just reputation, because your reputation, you may have a good reputation with some people, you might not have it with other people, but I don't want to, talk bad about people or anything like that, but just looking at what's being presented to you as opposed to who's presenting it, or these constant ingrained, the finger waggling, pointing to that one page 85 that you hear me rant on about, something like that, using those kinds of arguments from authority, because page 85 is just a paragraph's worth of, but Gary said so. And it's just another argument from authority. But you've heard me bang the pulpit on that one before. So, but that's what we're looking to do as far as combating this. I don't know that I'll have any success because I'm one individual and most people don't like to hear this sort of thing, but I really think it would do do us all a lot of good. Anyway.
Well, it's very likely that what will happen is that you will appeal to people who are already open to the idea that innovation is superior to the tried and true. And then you've got the other camp of people, and I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I think we all kind of hop back and forth between them. But the other idea is, why should I believe you? That's where I think the essence of where
Right.
credentialism comes from. People
Right.
are asking themselves, why should I trust what you say?
Right.
And the answer can be, well, I went to this university and I've
Right.
got a diploma on the wall. That's a form of credentialism.
Right.
I've
Right.
got, I won the pie eating contest in my hometown for 20 years in a row. Well, mainly because I was really popular and all the guys thought I was hot. So they wanted to come and taste my pie. But, I can now use that when I'm making it. Okay, that was bad. I don't take that the way that Storm just did by the look on his
I'm a
face.
perv.
I literally meant pie, not any other euphemisms. But anyway, but the point is that or somebody just keeps winning an award over and over again because they've won it before, and people are like, yeah, I'm a fan of that person now. So fandom can make things seem that way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that person can tell who else's pie is good. If I was going to be,
then again, maybe they can.
Okay, I'm going to drop the pie analogy completely. We're going with something else. But cooking is another genre where you run into this. Somebody can say this recipe was the best. The chef is outstanding. He does a lot of fusion recipes. Well, me for one, I hate fusion. I like my things pure to be not. I mean, the worst thing in the world you can do is take a really good meal and make it a goulash. It drives me crazy.
Don't put
If
any
you've
berries
got
in my Captain Crunch, man. I like my
huh?
Captain Crunch pure. No
Yeah,
berries.
okay. No berries, okay, that's fine. But I would love a bowl of just berry. You and I would get along just fine. You have the Captain Crunch, and I'll just have a bowl of the berries. You
Let's
give me
just
all the
separate them.
berries. You
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
all the Captain Crunch peanut butter. But anyway, the point is we all have different tastes, and taste and enjoyment is not something that should ever be gatekept, because if you let someone else tell you what you like, you're going to miss out on finding out what you really like.
Right, right. People are so damn determined to tell you that these particular experiences are bad and hard and complex and time consuming. And, have you tried it? Because you might have a lot of fun. So credentialism to me, it ends up being, it's somebody of a narrow mind. No offense, but you don't want to assess anything. You want things assessed for you. And if you
Right.
if you listen to the experts, then you don't have to put in that time, and you can still sound authoritative uh, about your opinions because you've received them from some credentialed individual or something like that. So if you're going to, you can't stop people from commenting on things they don't have experience with, but I see it a lot where people, clearly you don't have any experience with it, but you're going to make a remark on it based on the fact that you've heard from the grapevine. Jargon is repetitious, and it stems from some, so they hear it enough and they just assume it's true. So that's the
It's
problem.
a weird human thing that we do. I mean, if you think about it, take a look at a research book.
Yeah.
When if you ever went through in English class and you ever learned about like writing a research paper or something like that, what is the method for writing a research paper? You basically go and you find everybody else who's ever written on it, and you quote them. And now sometimes they disagree with each other, so you quote both sides, and you have footnotes and stuff. But basically, for the most part, what we end up falling into the trap as humans of doing is just rehashing things that everybody else has done. True innovation is a rare thing, and partly because when true innovation happens, sometimes we look at it and go, yeah, why should I take a chance on that?
Right. Yeah, I find myself constantly questioning because of the repetitious, well, that takes too much time. Well, that's bad because, and I've actually modified things and then gone back and said to myself, I really don't like this change. I don't like this system as much because I let myself get barked into the idea of doing it, and there's a lot of people who go, well, I always tell people, just do what you feel, do what you think. That's easy to say, but there's a lot of even outside of credentialism, there's a lot of pressure where you're looking at it, you're trying to, if all you're doing is trying to make something for the sake of making it, that's the most liberating thing. But unfortunately, most people, whether they say so or not, are trying to make a buck off this stuff. It may not be the only way they're making a buck, but they're still trying to make a buck. And if you want to market it, you have to look at people's opinions, and it's very difficult to, or people's tastes and what the market is looking for. Unfortunately, that's difficult to do because it's generally dragged around by these authoritative voices. And it does become a kind of a clique of gatekeeping individuals who sit and hold court with everybody else and decide which way we're going.
It
And
reminds me of fashion designers, which every
exactly,
time, if you've ever seen like any kind of skit comedy or something or anything like that, where their fashion designers get made fun of a lot. And part of the reason is they have that snooty air about them. They walk around like they look at everybody else and go, oh, that shirt with those pants, what were you thinking?
right?
But yet these are the same people who gave us bell bottoms
Yeah, yeah.
and mohair suits. I don't know what a mohair suit is, but it was in a song, so it must be some big thing. Anyway, I'm just saying. Yeah, and platform shoes with goldfish in them. What? And this was high fashion. I've seen some. There was one fashion show I saw where they had people dressed up in like the clothes were like they ballooned up like marshmallows. Everyone looked like this Stay Puff Marshmallow Man, but not in a
How
good way, not in a cute
right?
way.
How do you feed the fish in your boot?
I think that it's the cruelty of it is that you just let the fish die.
Yeah,
I don't think that the fish
and
lives
they
in there.
they got
Not
nowhere to
only
move.
that, do you know
Very
when you like
constricting.
tap on the glass of a fish tank
Yeah, it
that
freaks them out.
you'll give them a heart attack
Yeah,
sometimes because the
yeah.
vibrations are amplified in their water and then they just die of a heart attack. Can you imagine? These were like people wore these things to discos and stuff. Those goldfish did not make it.
So where else are you going to go? This is why there's so many people missing a great time. Where else are you going to hear people talk about games and also indict Bootsy Collins as a goldfish murderer? You ain't going to
Did
hear
he
that
have
kind of.
goldfish in his boots?
He had. I would assume Bootsy had at least one.
I would
It's an
not
assumption.
assume that because
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know. I mean, he had some platform boots, that's for sure, but they didn't necessarily have living creatures in them who were destined to die.
I'm
I
assuming he
don't
does.
know. I don't want to hang
Now
that
I have
on Bootsy.
Bootsy Collins fish. Now I got to know just so I don't
He's
want to get
not
sued.
responsible for every boot offense. You know what I'm
No,
saying? Just
but
because
he
his name
probably
is
had some.
Bootsy.
Let's see if he had some. Now I got to make sure.
No,
Oh, yep. I'm
he
safe.
did. You're
Yep.
safe. He
I'm
did have
safe.
goldfish in his boots.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
Yep.
Bootsy, you disappoint me.
Yep. So can't sue me now. So anyway, I backed up my statement. So anyway, but yeah, that's where we're going with it. I think where I wish we were going with it. I don't think we are going that way because most people I think hear this kind of thing. They like to be able to have this kind of weaponized gatekeeping credentialism. It's very convenient for a variety of reasons. I don't see it being broken through, but it really would be, having a more open-minded and critical approach, not just saying, well, everything that has this. I mean, I've heard people say, I won't play anything with an 8-sider. And no, they weren't just messing around. They're that, just have a little more open mind, look at something in its entirety, assess it for what it is, as opposed to what some person said, this must be crap because I made this game and I know. No, you don't. No, you don't. Value every games based on their merits and rather than the credentials of the creators or the reputation of the mechanic or whatever. Well, you can't. It's like hearing somebody say, "How did that go? No white before May Day or whatever the hell it was."
Oh, no, you can't wear white after Labor Day.
after Labor Day, yeah, that kind of thing. And then, well, you can't put a dice pool system in with this mechanic. Crap. So just a little more open mind, and but more than anything, there is a giant blank spot in the vocabulary of gaming in its entirety, almost, where people just cannot even see the difference between an objective factual statement that the sky is blue versus, I don't really like this game. It sucks and it's inferior to this game. And one is a subjective opinion. I like apples a lot less than I like oranges, and oranges are superior. That's your opinion, bro. Versus looking at the sky and saying, yes, it is indeed exactly blue. That's a factual statement. There's a lot of people that can't make that distinction, or they refuse to because it has some sort of benefit to them in discussion. So that's a problem.
Yep. But the credentialists don't have any power unless people accept that their credentials make them more knowledgeable. And I think that comes down to, like, human beings have a tendency, sometimes we are not very confident in our opinions about things, or we're dealing with limited resources. In a lot of cases, the middle class, I don't want to get too political, but people have less to spend in actual dollars than they used to. And that's been a trend that's been going on since the 80s. But so as you get less and less, you don't have that, what you used to like to tell me was FU money you could just set on fire if you wanted to. You didn't need it to live on. You didn't need it to feed yourself, put your kids through college, buy that new car because your current one is breaking down, or have that safety nest to make sure that you don't end up homeless on the streets or whatever. More people are struggling financially, the more they want someone else to tell them if something is a good buy. So you end up with rating systems. You end up with, I use them. I'll admit I'll use them when I'm buying something on Amazon. I'm looking at how many stars did it get. And then I look at what, how many overall reviews, what do people say about it? And if somebody says something really negative, I'm going to just not buy that thing, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to take a chance on me having a bad experience. But when it comes to gaming, so many of the mechanics that are used in different combinations. It's almost like a recipe. Creating a game is almost like a recipe. And you may not, you wouldn't want to put garlic in your birthday cake. That would be awful and horrible. But garlic could be really good in a nice Alfredo dish or something like that. You know what I mean? So sometimes I think people will look at an element of a war game and go, oh, it was in that game from the 1970s had that component, and it was a terrible game. So therefore, don't ever use that game mechanic.
Right. And
even though they were just using it in the wrong application. They were putting garlic in the birthday cake instead of putting it in a dish it goes in.
Right. There's some people make assessments of certain, like I've had a problem with people making assessments on hit locations. Oh, I used that. I did that. That slowed the game down. Really? There's more than one way to skin a cat with a lot of these mechanics. And while I played it, I used Bio 1 from 74 or something. Okay. Right. So if you look at it's like saying, well, I used that Model A one time, and cars are a bad idea.
So we never improved them because the first car was so bad that nobody wanted to take a chance on any others. Nope, right. We're better off with horses.
Right.
Let's stick with those.
Yeah,
and then try to breed better, faster horses, and
there's
not even try with the cars.
Right.
Or it's happened with electric cars too. The first ones were terrible. And of course, there's still the problem that there's not places to plug them in and charge them quickly. But somebody could invent an electric vehicle that has batteries that were universally, exchangeable, and a series of, instead of like partner up with gas stations and just have kind of like the propane tanks. You go in, you turn in your used battery, and you get your dead battery that needs a recharge, and you get a fully recharged one, and it just slides out um, like a cartridge. You pull out the cartridge of the old used batteries, you hand it in, they slide in a cartridge of charged ones, and you're on your way in 5 minutes. That is a possibility they could have done, but you had so many people going, "Oh, we're not going to do that. It's environmental. It's, we like our gas." And so they just panned it and it just never, well, and other reasons. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I'm going off of far afield. My analogies sometimes lead us astray. I'm sorry.
Well, mine do too. I always thought, oh, I use analogies. They're great. And then they're not.
And then they become their own topic and you forget what you were talking about.
Right. So,
which, by the way, as an aside, I know we've got game topics to discuss, but I just have to tell people I'm going to be having some dinner here soon, so I may be muting the mic intermittently. I'm sorry to do that, but just the way my schedule is, and the grocery delivery came late, so I'm going to be having some asparagus with bacon wrapped asparagus. It's going to be good. If you haven't ever tried it, it's extremely delicious, surprisingly so.
I see. Very well.
Yep. I either made everybody hungry or made everybody grossed out.
Asbestos.
Asbestos. Yes. That's what my brother calls. He doesn't call it asparagus. He calls it asbestos. So we're having bacon wrapped asbestos.
All right.
But it's really yummy.
Good. That's great.
Sorry, that was definitely a distraction. I can smell it and it's kind of distracting because it's baking right now.
I see. Well, all righty then.
Sorry. Now Storm is mad at me. You guys may not be able to tell, but I can tell. How dare you derail my conversation?
I don't know. Have we covered everything then, I guess?
Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about on that subject? I thought we did a pretty thorough exploration of it.
Anybody else got anything to say? Tony, questions, comments? If he's still here.
Come on over, Tony. You would love it.
Kind of comes and
goes.
goes.
Recipe with you. So
he's on. Oh, he's coming over. He's coming over to have some.
Yeah, come on over. You can have some bacon wrapped asparagus. It's really good. I do want to say one final thing on the topic before we move along to something else is that I think one of the most important things about the topic is that innovation is really what the hobby needs. If you don't have good innovation, if you don't change over time, then it will die off. That's what happens. Things that don't move along, if there's nothing new about it, it becomes that, oh, that's that thing my grandpa used to do. So, I think we have to be kind of careful about that for that reason alone. But also because you got some independent people out there who are making stuff. And I think it would be kind of cool if there was a way to have, and I think we want to do this with our channel here too, a format so that those folks who are doing innovative and new things have a way to share that with other people so that people can try the new innovative type of gaming systems and game theory and design and all of that and decide if they like it without having to risk a lot. You can see, like we had Aaron on the other night with Tiny D10, to kind of give him a chance to explain to everybody what his game was all about. Because that's innovative, and that's what we need. to make sure we have some innovation continuing and that people get a chance to see it, even if the gatekeepers out there and the credentialed experts are not keen to promote those things. Right, Storm?
Yeah, like the stuff I'm making.
Absolutely. Like we did a play test last night. For anybody who wasn't able to be here last night for that, if you want to view that, we actually had some help from Michael on that. He participated, and we did a quick play session with that. And well, actually, we went on a little bit long. I think we were doing it. It was about 2 hours long um, altogether, but it was quite fun.
Uh-huh. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you
Yeah, and
enjoyed it.
it was our second playthrough of that, which is kind of the name of the system. Do you want to explain the name of the system, or can I?
Do it.
Okay,
She loves to
so
do it.
it's yes. So the name of the system, it's a full name, so it can have an acronym, right? The full name is Spartan Universal Gaming Adventure System, which the acronym is SUGAS because it's sweet like sugar. Okay, you get it. I'm a bit corny, I'll admit, but I thought that was kind of cool. But anyways, it's Spartan is in the name because it's just the essentials of gaming. Do you know what I mean? It's not less than you need or more than you need. It's just the essentials to be able to play a game, a quick game, and it's actually quite works out pretty good. It's not a lot of complicated dice. There's not over much dice rolling. You could add and expand, and there is a way to have modifiers that you can still use the scalable realism that all of Storm's games have featured in it, where you can include extra modifiers to account for if you wanted to take into account the weather, or you wanted to take into account how much sleep your characters got the night before, if they had interrupted sleep or bad dreams, or who knows, whatever. You have a modifier you want to add, like having your characters roll at the beginning of the day to see if they're having a very good day or a very bad day and how it affects morale. You could do that if you want to just add that in just because you like it. But it doesn't automatically come with that kind of stuff. It's just what you need to play a game quickly and with all of the same essentials that you expect from a good role-playing game, and adaptable to fantasy or wargaming. Am I doing it justice, Storm, or is there anything you want to add? Because you sat back in your chair kind of like, I'm thinking I might have to weigh in on this.
Uh, um, yeah, I mean, if you want to add detail to it, what I've got though is it's really, I mean, it's meant to be expandable in that
Right.
you can do other things with it. But if you really like, I have paracosmic convergence, which is a different vibe. You don't have it like the Spartans meant for, well, like when you're drinking.
It's a Friday night fest, Friday night beer drinking game. Well, not necessarily. You don't have to
But
drink.
people don't drink anymore, so I guess that doesn't really hit with people. But I put it this way: with the Spartan, there's no worlds that come with it or anything like that. You put all the stuff you want in it yourself. No
It's
monsters,
just the essentials.
no spells, none of that. That stuff you put in. You invent your spells as you go. If you
I
want,
love that aspect of it. Actually, I would love to see you do that with paracosmic convergence too, because I love that aspect of it. Rather than having to get a tome of spells. I mean, not that you can't still do that in the Spartan system. What's going on? You okay?
but no,
Okay.
my screen's dirty. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, stop swatting flies on your computer screen. That won't happen so much. But no, anyway, it's I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, the spells, making your own spells. It is a much better system because you can, like, if you need a spell to do a specific thing, you just have to make sure you have enough points that you can cast it because you're within range, that you have enough power to cast it, and that it's something that you could do. So it's a very free form kind of thing. Now, if you're creating your own spell from scratch like that, there is a chance that it will fail, that it's not going to be successful because it might backfire on you. But you don't have like where you have to pick 4 spells and those are the only 4 spells you're going to have, and if you want to use a different spell you have to get rid of one before you can do so. It's not like that. It's a little more free form. But there are some restrictions, the power points that you have that it takes to do certain things. You can't just like make a spell. There is no, I want to make a spell that kills everybody that I can see within my range. That would be outside of anybody's capabilities because it's not meant to be a like you know automatic win. um, just because you can say I'm a superior wizard and I can kill everyone just by saying boo or whatever.
Yeah, it's there's a point system, so yeah.
Yeah, so you are limited by the points, but your imagination is not limited.
Yes,
You're
right.
not limited to just, "Oh, I can only do water spells," or, "I
Yeah,
can
it's
only
it's
do air spells,"
it's a
whatever.
game, so it has some framework. It has as limited amount of framework as it can. But if you don't want, you know, a game has rules, but
Right,
people complain a lot about rules. So I made this thing that was, as light as possible. But if you don't want any limitation, then you know, I had somebody the other day say this. She goes, "Well, what people really want is they want to be like kids and just get on the ground and go pew pew pew. Go for it. Set up your toy soldiers and play like you're a kid. I don't care. I don't think anybody cares. I don't think, maybe you think your wife's going to send or your husband's going to send you the funny farm if you do it, but you don't need rules just to, you want to just, but if you, that's not a game anymore by definition. I don't, I'm not putting it down. I ain't saying anything like that, but eventually you got to have some sort of restriction. So the points give you some
right.
restriction,
That's
but but like she says, I've had people, and here we come with a credential thing. Somebody who has, all sorts of supposed credentials say, "Well, too many rules limit imagine." No, they don't. That's not even a factual statement. If having to come up with something within a restriction is very ingenious and imaginative. If you
right.
don't have, how can I make this work with limited resources? That's ingenuity. That's imagination.
Right.
So
It takes a lot more imagination to figure out how to get around a road that is partially blocked by trees going across it than it does to just drive on a clear road with nothing in your way.
right. Right.
Because anybody can do that. It doesn't take any great ideas, but if you've got a big old tree and blocking the road in front of you and you've got to get it out of the way, well now you got to think, well, what's the best way to do that? Do I try and chop the tree up and move it away a piece at a time? Do I get a bunch of people and try and use a lever system over a branch of another tree with a rope and pulley? Do I do we just saw off all the branches and roll it out of the way? You got to start thinking in different ways. What do I have to work with and how can I make this happen before I can continue on my journey? So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm shaking my head. I have a roommate who's using Windex and a sponge on my monitor, and it's completely destroying it. This is the second time. What I thought was dirt is
the
he's ruining it.
finish coming off.
He's just yeah, he's
Oh,
destroying it.
oh,
So yeah. So I'm gonna have to. I found one for a relatively cheap amount. I'm gonna have to replace it, and I don't know how to keep this. He doesn't. I don't. He doesn't care or doesn't listen or whatever. But that's why I was like, what the hell is all this? And then I realized, oh, he was in here washing it with a fucking. with a sponge and Windex again. And
Oh,
it's someday it's just not gonna, that eats through. It's
yeah.
not glass,
You should never use Windex on your TV screens, on your phone
Yeah,
screens, on your
not anymore. It's
none
not
of those things.
1970. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
plus it makes giant streaks that, you know,
Yeah.
I thought it was something, and when I was doing this, it wasn't coming off. And then I went and I looked at something, and I turned on Windows or Word where it's white and you can really see, or you just
Oh.
squeegee the thing, man.
Yeah, Michael,
Yeah,
Scotch Brite and monitors don't mix. That's true.
I have to buy a new monitor. He's wrecked it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I'm sorry he wrecked your stuff.
I, you know, I had, well, it doesn't matter. One day I opened up years ago, I had somebody that was cleaning my house for me. And I understand not everybody's a computer person and all that, but this shit was like, really? I opened up the CD tray and there was fucking standing water
dripping
in
out
it.
of
Who the fuck? Why would you even? I mean, ruined it. Had to thankfully, it didn't drip down into anything else. So and those are modular and all that. But I'm like, why in the hell would you even open this? How did you even get it open up? And I found out that all they did is just the front. They just wiped down the front fascia of the computer with a sloppy wet sponge. And thankfully, it was one of those that had a plastic fascia. So she fired her.
Yeah, so it just got in the CD-ROM tray and not the other. Yeah, that's bad.
But it would have destroyed everything. It just like the sponge destroys this. So
I know. It's frustrating when that happens, but yeah, I don't water my CD-ROM drive ever.
Yeah,
How
don't
many
water
people
your
are gonna
computer stuff.
My computer didn't even come with a CD-ROM drive. What am I talking about?
Right.
The new ones don't have them. What is that? They've gone the way of the floppy disk.
Right.
One day, Gen Z and millennials will be talking to their kids and going, we used to have these things that were discs that were like, plastic discs, and you put them in a drive and they read them with a laser. And you had to be careful not to get them all scratched up. And their kids will go, what? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unbelievable. So, yeah, we'll be looking for a new monitor. I found it. I'll just replace this one if that deal's still out, but that's frustrating. Anyway, so one of the next things I keep wanting to roll this out. I have this deal where what I'd like to get from audience members. We keep saying maybe we should wait till we get more audience members to do this, but I don't know. I kind of want to do it anyway. What do you think?
What do you want to do?
Well, I have those tactical decision games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be helpful if there's more viewers, but do we want to wait or do it now? We were talking about doing that.
Yeah, let's do. Well, you were talking about the Star Wars one. We have to make a tactical decision or something else.
Well, I got a bunch of them, but I don't know.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you for coming.
We'll just wait.
Appreciate it.
We'll just wait. It would probably more fun if we actually had a group of people to weigh on it. So we'll stow that for later. But let's see. Is there anything else then? Let's see. I haven't gotten anything from Dave. Dave was playing our Star Wars, but I haven't seen him in a while, and I don't know if he said something about. So I don't know if anybody else wants to play Star Wars and kind of pick up where we left off with that. I know it Magenta got sick, and so that kind of slowed things down.
I'm so sorry about that, but yeah,
some people, it's all right.
I tell you what, if you can avoid catching that, do.
So
do not expose yourself. If you know someone has that or has the symptoms of it, it's the headache, this extreme headache. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah. So but if somebody else wants to take over, I don't. I mean, he's welcome to keep on going, but I've got to reply. We can wait for him, I suppose, but
Yeah,
uh,
let's do that.
I mean,
Let's wait because
I got other people waiting too. That's the thing. Well, people are
oh,
dropping off shit.
yep.
So, well, anyway, so you want to call it then? I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I think that would be good. And I hope you guys will forgive us for not doing a really long show tonight. We want to do at least an hour. Oh,
Well,
yeah, that answer Michael's question though. First out, I'll read it out for you. I have a question about last night's combat rules. Were you rolling an opposed roll for the enemies when we were trying hit?
no,
No.
no, you're just rolling against the defense of the other. You have a
There's no two roll system. It's just the attacker rolls, and then if you overcome their defensive value,
yeah,
then you.
defensive or whatever. You know, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So, yep, they gotta.
Now I like having an attack and defense roll because whatever applies to the monsters, that rule applies to us as players too. So I kind of like being able to defend yourself if somebody is, you know, if you're in a at least for hand to hand. I get it if it's like missile, any kind of flying stuff. Yeah, Michael, that might be a way to fix the criticals.
No, I just got rid of those because it's
Oh, you
no one
changed it now,
they
so they're
don't
not.
nobody likes them, and it does it, so I just got rid of it.
Well, you could just make it a higher bar that you have to roll a specific number to do that, and then it would be less likely.
It's something I like, and
No,
maybe
I thought it was
quite
good too.
good
It's
about it.
just that if it's like just rolling double what the other opponent would roll, it was happening too often. But if you make it so that you have to roll like the maximum roll, like if you're rolling two six-sided dice for your attack, maybe you have to hit a natural 12 in order to get a critical hit like that. That might be a way to do it. I don't know.
It's easier to get rid of it that way. You don't,
Mm, but I kind of like it though. I liked that shot I took at that, was it a orc? I think it was an orc I was firing on. When I got him right in the head, that was exciting. And I get that it can't happen too frequently or it kind
Yeah,
of
but what happens? See, then when you do that though, now it's not this ultralight rule, and you got people going, "Oh, I don't know, the complication. I got to calculate
not
and
that
all that crap."
complicated to just
Yeah,
say,
but but people are really sensitive to that, and the whole point of the thing was to be able to jump right in and all that. So I figure it's just easier to chop than to, you know, that way you keep it bare bones. And I'm using the term ultralight, so it just works better.
okay,
Yeah,
I guess,
it's
but
easier.
I did kind of like it. I just thought that maybe, if you just made it like
It's
you
just
have to
easier
roll.
to delete that stuff because then it stays the ultralight that people they look
Okay.
at. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I got to sneeze. Phew! Sorry. Sorry about that. But yeah, thank you, Michael. I would love to play that with you again. And I hope your daughter has a very wonderful birthday. Wish her a happy birthday for us. I hope you guys have a wonderful time this weekend. And how old is your daughter, if you don't mind my asking? I know we have a delay, so I'm waiting. Oh, excellent. So turning 16, that's awesome. Oh, saw an interesting interview with Mike Merles earlier that was poo-pooing the added complexity in 5.5. I don't know what that 5.5 Dungeons and Dragons.
Is that the guy I just blocked
Oh,
some dude?
was that
uh,
Mike Merles? Is
I
that who you're
might have.
talking about?
It was some. Let's see. I didn't want to hear about his politics, so I got rid of him.
Oh,
Uh,
uh-oh. Well, okay, so your daughter's turning 17, so yeah, math is hard, especially like that. Birthday math is the hardest. But I hope she has a wonderful night and that you guys have a great weekend. And huh, former WotC lead works for. I'm not sure what that
yeah, I'm not
fails.
sure which one it was that I was looking to see which one of these dudes I dumped because I didn't want to hear their
Thanks, Michael.
political stuff.
Right. Yeah. We try and keep the politics out of the channel. It doesn't add anything good to it distracts from it. It's too divisive. If you want to play games to bring people together, you don't want divisiveness. So try and keep that out. But thank you, everyone who has shown up and listened to our show tonight. As always, we really appreciate your support.
Well,
And
I mean, if you need to go, but I'm not really.
well, I do need to sign off. So I'm gonna sign off early because I got some company over this evening as well, and food is done. So thank you all for listening. I'm going to sign off, and Storm, if you want to stick around and chat with folks, um, and then we will be doing this. Better send Tony a link. I don't know, a link to what?
Oh, to play? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So he can play. Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Um, yep. So I'm going to sign off though. Good night, you guys. Thank you again, and please
We
don't
had him
forget.
on once. Oh, I'm sorry, Magenta. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, please don't forget to hit subscribe and like and follow and all those good things if you're motivated. We appreciate the help and hope you have a great rest of your night.
All righty. But yeah, have a good night. Thanks. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I was just gonna see if I could get this thing to. I wanted. I really did want to do the Star Wars thing, but I suppose it's no good if there's nobody around to do it. But there is um, a play by post, a Star Wars play by post going on, and I've got a couple of Rebellion, including Magenta, and I've got well, I don't know if Dave's playing anymore or not, but um, I do have another Imperial player. So if anybody wants to jump on that, it's real simple. All you got to do is explain what you want to do in a short post, and then uh, I'll give you a report as to what happens in that uh, phase of time, which is 4 hours. So you just write a post for every turn. It's not. I mean, people see. I always find it funny because some people will be like, "Oh, that's crazy. You want me to do that all the time?" Have you looked at how much time you spend on Twitter or anything like that? You're talking about, a couple of 3 sentences, maybe a paragraph at most in most cases. And most people write more on Twitter. So it's okay not to want to do it, but I don't know how I can explain it better so it doesn't sound, I don't know why it sounds like it's some uh, overwhelming thing. But I did get some people to play it in the past. These people who are playing it are having fun doing it. Um, it would be fun to do some of it live, where you can sit down and have a session. But it's too hard to get a schedule, where everybody can meet. Otherwise, I do that. But finding 5 people that can all show up at the same time, almost impossible. So, but it works okay with the play by post. So it's kind of fun. But if you're not a big reader, that might be a problem. So I wish I could make video or something for it, but I just don't have that capability. Plus, there's a whole IP issue. But currently, what's happening is there's a couple of insurrections going on that are being dealt with. There's a there's kind of a horror adventure going on. It's about to start with the Imperials, where they're investigating this planet that's filled with some sort of mysterious, murderous alien that they have to investigate. Things like that. So it's pretty fun. But yeah, the tactical decision games are small scenarios that were meant to generate participation from the audience, where you hear the little story or little scenario and then make your decision as to what you would do, and then write that in, and we evaluate everybody's contribution, and then the rest of the audience votes on what they think is the best course of action. And whoever gets the most votes will send you the map that goes with the scenario or something of that sort. So that was the idea, but probably a lot funner if you had a crowd. So, things like that. Boy, that monitor thing is a bummer. I was really looking forward to playing, but it's all messed up. Anyway, what else with the Spartan? Does anybody here still want to hear more about the Spartan thing, or I'll give it about 10 seconds. I wish they'd let me play the Jeopardy theme for this leg that I have, but I get an IP strike. But if anybody else is interested in that. But yeah, it's a less is more type of thing. The whole chop is, a lot of people gripe about the whole chopping arms off and things. That takes too long to, check a chart and all that. And I thought about it, and I says, yeah, just the best thing to do is just, if it seems like it's too much, it probably is, and just get rid of it. Make it smooth. Nobody, nothing. Bueller. Anybody? Yeah. Okay. All right then. Thanks for listening. Hope somebody got something out of it. I really wanted to talk about this, but anyway, we'll catch you next time. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.